Hey everybody, welcome back to Bros and Shows. I'm your host, Josiah, aka Muller67. With me, as always, I got my buddy, I got my pal, I got my brother Austin. Austin, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty okay too. I had a nice little weekend of just relaxing inside because I didn't feel like driving 2 hours to play Vampire. It's all good.
Yeah, sounds good.
My thing fell over. Yeah, no, I just I had the opportunity. I'm like, I could go and play at Altoona and join their game, but I decided not to, mainly like just for the fact that I didn't wake up until 5 p.m. on Saturday, and game starts at 4, so I wasn't going to drive 2 hours to get there a little later. But yeah, no, and then I just spent the day instead of doing all that good stuff. Just played some games on my good old computer. I watched more of the one show I've been watching that I'm going to make you watch at some point.
Oh, I saw.
And yeah, just relax. I just enjoyed and relaxed weekend. Played some Deadlock. Been enjoying that. Got another game called They Are Billions. Been playing that too. That's a fun little game. Really, it's hard for me only because you're very limited on what you can and can't do in the beginning. And yeah, just had a learning curve is all it is. It's a game on Steam. What it is, it's a RTS game, but you don't play against other players. You only play against zombie hordes. And there's the free game where it's just you, and you have like every so many days a horde will come and try to kill you, and it's how long can you survive. Or you play the campaign, which is like set missions that you do. And I've been playing the campaign for a bit. It's kind of steampunky.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think I've heard of this game. It's like a steampunky. Yeah,
probably.
I remember.
It's been out since 2016 or 2017. It's been out for a while.
I thought it was like, I was gonna say, I thought it was like 2020 something.
No. It's been out for a while. Terry has it. Jordan has it. They played it. There's no multiplayer, which is something that like people are like, y'all should make multiplayer, and then they're like, we can't do it. The original build of the game was built strictly on single player and like localization, and any form of us like trying to make that would basically require us to make a whole new game, so they just didn't do it. That doesn't mean that they're not making They Are Billions 2 or something like that, or for the what it should be is They Are Trillions, and incorporate multiplayer into that. But as of now, We Are Billions is not multiplayer, but it's still a fun game. Just doing that, playing a lot of Deadlock as well. Austin, how has your week been?
It's been pretty nuts.
I am
a whole bunch of stuff going on. I went back to college last week.
Oh no!
I had to, do all my homework and stuff like that, and then we're getting the foster room ready, getting all that ready to go. And then I've been trying to plan for like the events that are coming up here soon. Like I'm going to go to the Mothman Festival. Like 2 weeks from now, I'm going to the Ren Fair this weekend coming up. Like I'm so booked. I'm so booked. And so I was like, oh yeah, I gotta make sure I'm back by a certain time on Saturday.
You mentioned about the Mothman Festival. Me and my friend Brandon invited me to play a Vampire the Masquerade game at his house, like a tabletop version that I've never played before. And so I got to meet a couple of his friends, and one of our mutual friend, Kanon, was there too. And we're just like learning how to play it. A handful of them already know how, we don't. And they talked about they were going to go to the Mothman Festival. And apparently one of our game nights falls on the week of the Mothman Festival. Yeah. And so they're like, we'll decide if we want to play it that night or that week or not. And so I was like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. I didn't know it was so close, but also, it's getting near spooky season, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really getting close. But yeah, I've been just trying to plan that. I've been, I used to do something back in the day, and someone gave this to me, so I got a guitar.
Oh, nice.
I've been like relearning guitar, You know, it's been a while since I played in a long time, and my fingers, man, do not have calluses, so it hurts like really bad. That was
Mhm.
like the one thing that I remember. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Um, I've been doing that, and then work. You know, I'm, you know, all this other stuff's going on with work, and then I'm also, you know, just getting everything ready for everything coming up here soon. You know, I'm playing for my, you know, my D&D birthday session I always do. A lot of people always are fun. You know, a lot of people are excited. They actually asked me this weekend about it. They were like, "Hey, what do you think about it?" And I was like, "Oh man, I got so much going on in October. I got a lot to do. I got to figure this out." So I was like, "Oh, I'll just, you know, I'll do that." And then, you know, I just made like 20 pounds of deer jerky for you. So,
Oh, you
like,
did? You may already. Nice.
well, I'm like almost done with it. So like like the second to last batch is like cooking right now, and like it's like right at the last like half an hour of it.
Mhm.
So I went and tasted it real quick because I always taste to make sure that it's at the consistency I like. Because some people like it like crispy, like they like it like, you know, a little chewy. And then some people like it a little tender a little bit, and then some people like it really tender. So like I was like, I'll make him a batch of like chewy, and I'll make him a batch of tenderness. So like, you know, he'll have like a mixed variety. But yeah, and then like a whole bunch of other people were like, whoa, you can make like jerky out of deer burger? And I was like, yeah, I've done it like multiple times. And I'm like, oh wow. So they're like, hey, we'll get together and you should make it for us. I was like, oh, okay. But
Oh, it's gonna be one of these things, huh?
me and my wife went to a concert this weekend. We went to Avril Lavigne and Simple Plan. We went and saw them
Oh,
live at Blossom. And it
what'd
was
you think of the
completely sold
clone?
out. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that until Mikey told me. He was like, "Yeah, the conspiracy theory about Avril Lavigne." I was like, "I never even heard of that." And then like
Oh, yeah, it's
showed me
crazy.
everything, and I was like, "Oh, this is like a thing that's like huge."
Yeah.
But what was really crazy is like when I looked at the Facebook Blossom page, I was like, "Oh, it's sold out. Oh, this must be just a pavilion show." Because the Blossom, like, do you remember when we saw Breaking Benjamin Disturbed?
Yeah.
It's exactly like that venue. It's an outdoor venue, and then it's got lawn seats like where we were at and stuff. They had lawn seats too. So I was like, oh, well, they were just selling the pavilion tickets. That's why it's sold out. And it's like, no, this is a full show. And I was like, no way. And then we got there and it did not stop raining. We were out in the rain for like 4 hours listening, you know, jamming, but it was so packed in there. Like it was just a huge mud pit. You know, my wife had a blast. She loves Avril Lavigne. She grew up with Avril Lavigne. I'm a huge Simple Plan fan, so I love Simple Plan. So when they did Perfect in the rain, I was like, yeah, just like the music video. You know, I was super excited. You know, and it was great. You know, I like pop punk. You know, I grew up on that. Like it's one of the things I love. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. We did that, and then we did Art in the Park in Kent, Ohio, which we just like, you know, we went and got stuff. And my wife, I got a Groot flower planter that sits on my desk, and then I have which I have it out in my car. I should grab that. And then my wife bought me. We went to this booth, and this guy was exactly the kind of art that I like, where it's like Jinyu Ito, like, you know, really weird art. And I saw this, and I was like, dude, that looks awesome. And then I was like, I'm not gonna get it. And my wife's like, get it. And I was like, I don't want to scare the foster kids. Like, I was like,
No,
that's
scare them.
terrifying. But then she ended up buying me like one of the postcards I really liked. So I was like, oh man, thank you. So she's like, yeah, she's like, we put it in a portfolio and you can put it on the coffee table. I was like, no, we're not doing that. I'm gonna just keep it, and it'll be like my little thing. But yeah, that's pretty much what we did this week. You know, it's just been really hectic with school, work, and, you know, doing all the stuff that we have planned for, you know. So, you know, it's been a crazy week actually. So, you know, I'm just trying to get sleep. And you know what I've been playing recently? I've been playing just Tomb Raiders. Like I bought Tomb Raider a long time ago. I bought like the first 2 Tomb Raiders, and then like, you know, I just beat the original Tomb Raider, and I just beat Tomb Raider, Rise of Tomb Raider, and now I'm playing Shadow of Tomb Raider, which
I didn't know there was 3 of those.
yeah, the third one's like really well done. Like there's like constant how stealth works in that game is really interesting. They like upgraded everything in the third one, so like you can totally just mud yourself up and then like hide in a mud wall and then like, you know, jump out, stealth kill, and bring the guy back in the mud. And I'm like, that is awesome. I like, so it's so much fun when I see a mud pit. It's like, mud pit scene, you know?
It's
So I'm
like
yeah.
it's like the original Assassin's Creed, like the first time you ever did the hay bale trick. You're just like, this is the coolest thing ever.
That, and I felt like the first two Tomb Raiders was not like, they were good games, but they didn't remind me of Tomb Raider. But the third game reminds me of Tomb Raider, because the reason why I love Tomb Raider on PlayStation was because there was like a sense of terror going into a tomb, because you're like, there is traps everywhere. If you do things incorrectly, you will die. It is very unforgiving. So in this game, I accidentally like did not read the proper instructions. So I clicked the wall and the floor fell out from underneath of me, and I ran all the way back, and I was like, oh, I could just jump down there. So I jumped down and I was consumed by snakes.
Consumed by snakes. That sounds like something from Gloom.
Yeah, it
like
was
the card game Gloom. Just
consumed
like, oh,
by
they
snakes.
died, consumed by snakes.
Yep.
No,
And then
Warcraft.
I was planning on watching Beetlejuice sometime this week, because it did come out and everyone's saying it's pretty good. So it's something I'll probably watch, because I am a huge fan of the original Beetlejuice. So we'll see how bad that was, you know. But that's pretty much been my week.
I heard some good things about that show, or movie, but I didn't really watch the first one a lot, so my knowledge of the movie, I would probably have to rewatch the first one, then watch that in order to get anything.
Makes sense.
But
makes sense.
To be fair, I want to watch the musical more than I want to watch.
Oh no, I'm totally 100% down with you. And actually, the musical is going on here in Toledo, Ohio, like next February. But it's not the full, like the original cast.
Yeah, no.
So...
At this point, getting the original cast was like trying to get the original cast of Hamilton. It's like impossible. But trying to get to just be able to watch the show, it's still going to be good. And that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, talking about getting the original cast, I have nothing for that. That was just talking about watching a show, Austin. Let's talk about the show we watched this week. A show I forced you to watch. Austin, what did you think of Shogun?
So Shogun is based off of the book Shogun.
Wait, what?
Oh my gosh, a lot of people don't know that. It, you know, and a lot of people have seen like you know, interpretations really of like Last Samurai is kind of like this in a way. It's kind of the same character they're basing off of, which is William Adams. But this show, man, I enjoyed the show actually a lot. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It stuck really well to the book. It was very political. It was like, you know,
super political. I just like my little 2 cents just on that alone. Like, I felt like this was the original first season of Game of Thrones level of like politics.
That's exactly what I said. I said, this is Game of Thrones, but based in samurai real world.
In samurai, you said spaced in samurai real world. Austin, come on, man.
Based in the samurai world.
Austin, come on, man. We can't be doing that.
It's based in the real world, but I'm just saying it's based in the real world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very dramatic. But what's great about the show, the number one thing that I love about the show, is the characters that were built around the show. There's a lot of great character building in this. I think this is the end of it, actually. I think this is just a limited series.
I think it actually got confirmed for season 2, I thought.
Oh, really?
I have to check it to be sure. Because if I understand correctly, I thought I read somewhere about it, but I could be wrong. I could be just misunderstood.
Well, see, I've never read the book. I've never read the book, but I know the history about William Adam, and I know about that history. So like, some of the things in the book is like very loosely based on him, but they kind of like deal with what he was dealing with. Because at the time, you know, like Catholics and Protestants, you know, there was a lot of flack going to the West, and also most people were traveling on ships to trade for spices and other things. Because in the historical story, William Adam actually, there was 5 ships that were sent from the Dutch. And only what was it? And they weren't even sent to Japan. they were sent to India, actually, I'm pretty sure. And I think only out of the 5 ships, the 3 survived. But then the other 2 decided, hey, Japan is like, we've heard like all these things about Europe, like making tons of money in Japan. So they decided to set sail. And at that time, that's when William Adams like went to another ship. At that time, one of the 2 ships, which I think is called like the Loop. I forget. There's 2 weird ships. You know, they like to name their ships. But the one ended up sinking because on the way to Japan there was like a huge storm, which in the show they did the huge storm thing. But they end up in Japan, and that's when like, you know, it's kind of close to what Shogun is. Like it's pretty well done in like the spect of just the historical person that they're trying to base John, I think Blackthorne, I think that was his name, John Blackthorne, which I know like he's like considered the only like Western samurai, and there was some things that they don't talk about in the show, like they kind of changed things of history about William Adams, but William Adams became like one of the high-ranking shoguns, like samurais from the West. So it was kind of cool. It was really cool. But back to the show, no historical like thing. I'll bring that up throughout the time. I really enjoyed the show. I thought the drama was great. The action was phenomenal, dude. Blood and and people are really down with the seppuku thing. And that whole there was like so many people. It's like, oh, you know what? We're gonna take you over because we know that we feel like you're making you're building your army here. So I think all of your council should just kill themselves and you for the will of the council. And I'm like, oh man, that's why.
Well, so like the thing I really liked about the show that they did with like the political stepping, right, is that they don't ever like reveal Torganaga, Torgan, the main guys. I get his name wrong.
I can't. I'm not even gonna.
I think it's like Toranaga. Toranaga. Yeah, Toranaga. Yeah, Toranaga. They don't really reveal his like hands or plans, right? All that much, and that's good because like throughout the show you don't know like, is this a plan of his? Is this not? Is it like, to what level has he like planned this stuff? What isn't planned? And you're kind of viewing it from the pirate's point of view, or the Ajin Sama, or whatever they call him. His kind of view, where it's basically like he's kind of here and is nothing more than a pawn in this bigger scheme. And I really like that because it very much shows like the Western people, like the Europeans and the like the Spanish, or not the Spanish, Portuguese in the show. They're over here trying to like manipulate them and play them. They're like, oh, they're not like, they're uncivilized people. They're kind of savage. Like they specifically called them like savages at one point. And meanwhile, they're over here viewing them the same way because they are not playing the same level of chess. And I very much love that about the show, that you see like some of the political like maneuvers of people in the show come down to like very simple things. Like I really love, what's his name? I think it's like Ichiban, how he is called back to Osaka to like pledge himself to him. And if he pledges himself to him, he's going to have to commit seppuku, because he betrayed the person initially. But if he doesn't go back to Osaka, then he's considered an outlaw, and he's basically with Torganaga until his death, right? And he basically like slyly convinces his his nephew convinces his Torganaga's son to basically murder Jokin or Joven or whatever the dude's name is, and all of his people. And that basically like saves him, but then condemns the nephew. And because he's not smart enough, he didn't realize he was played for that. And of course, Torganaga realized that, and he calls him out for it. And he's just like, admit it. And in the end, like, I'm going to stop sitting here and be like ranting about it. You find out that like Toranaga knows Ichiban's character, or Ichiba's character, and like essentially goes, yeah, I knew. Like it's obvious. Like you're over here, like I don't command the wind. I just study it. And it's like, oh man, what a great freaking, there was a lot of great one-liners to this show that I very much appreciated. But anyways, Austin, keep going. I wanted to fill the spot because you look like you had to take care of some things.
Oh, no, I'm good. So pretty much what it was just the betrayal in this whole show, where it was like, hey, gotcha, kind of deal. I really enjoyed every aspect of it. Like I wasn't bored of the show at all. And I thought it was a really well-rounded just show. I thought it was great. I think the guy that played John was phenomenal. Because they're, you know, like the number one thing that I've always been told about the book, and I never like read the book yet, which I plan on reading. That was something that I've always wanted to read. Was there's a lot of problems with white savior complex things that go on in like media. But this, I mean, I've been always told that Shogun.
Look at The Last Samurai, Austin. That is a white savior complex.
White savior. Yeah, so like in this show, they kind of do the same thing as supposedly as the book, where it keeps that kind of. They're like, no, let's not do that.
Well, you very much catch on very early on that he's not like saving people. He's barely like doing anything. It's more or less, like I said, he's a pawn. Yeah, and there's
because they use him to manipulate other people, because it's like a chess game. It's like
it's not a chess game, Austin. It's a much more elegant game than chess. It just, over in chess, like, you know, you have pawns that can only go one direction. Toranaga has like pawns going back, forth, jumping sides, and then switching over to the other side to catch them off guard. Like, yeah, I loved it. Like,
yeah.
The other thing I really liked too is how he like plays with different people's ambitions, and you realize by the end of the show, you realize that there is a lot more ambition parts, that you realize he was only doing certain things till that was succeed, and then they let them go. Like I think her name's Fuji, the consort to him, who like her husband gets killed, or her husband has to commit seppuku. Her husband has to commit seppuku, and she has to kill her baby, and she has their urns by the end of the show. And she like wanted to kill herself for a while. She didn't want to be a consort, and Toranaga forces her to be it. And then at the end of the show, after Mariko, the one priest dude points out that it's like, we just call that Marie in England. But the Mariko character, once she dies, he lets her become a nun. Like, he's like, you don't have to be the consort no more, because it succeeded in what I wanted to do. I wanted him to get close to her, because I needed them to have that connection. And if I just gave him and her together, he would naturally be against her. But if I put all three of you together, he would confide in her because she's a translator, and he would see her as the outsource. And I was like, that is such like a big brain play. I love it, you know? Like, that's the thing I like about this show, is like, this show had the level of plotting that I don't think people realized when watching it, right? You watch it and you kind of have the mindset of like, oh, okay, so it's this one of these 5 regents. They all want to kill this regent, but they can't kill the regent until they replace him, because they need a unanimous regency in order to like kill him off and all this stuff. Meanwhile, you also have to play with the religious aspect that's going on, where you have a couple Christians in the mix, or a couple Catholics, or whatever they are. I don't know what they are. They may be Lutherans, they may be Catholics. I don't know what they are.
Catholic and Protestants. That's exactly
okay. They're Protestant. Okay, so
John's a Protestant.
Yeah, the other ones are Catholics.
The other ones are Catholics.
Yeah. So like a lot of the council, like 2 of the council members are Catholics now, because they have been converted by the Portuguese that are there. And then you have a couple of other people who are more Christians than anything else. Like they're not sure about Protestantship, but because of how they've been explained, they're basically like, I'm a Christian. And it's like, okay, you have more of a Protestant belief than a Catholic belief. And so that was just a really, really cool concept where you see like even the council itself, they think they are unified, but they are divided because of the religious aspect that has been introduced. Because you had, I think, two of them was very like traditional, like the regular, the normal religion in Japan at the time, and then the other ones were like converted to Catholicism, and that's one of the things that kind of bred tension there, and they all just kind of united against Toranaga. And I'm sorry, I'm going to sit here and kind of gush over like the political plays that were done in this show, because they like, as you kept going, you realize like, yeah, no, this was his plan. This was his plan. Like, sorry, you go on, Austin. What do you think? Tell me more about what you thought.
One of my favorite things about the show, like one of my favorite like twist things that they did was I'm not gonna know their name.
It's fine.
It's John, the woman that like ends up like loving John, like falling in love with him. Mariko. Yeah, Mariko. And you come to find out that like she thinks her like husband's dead, and then he shows up.
Oh,
and I was like, oh man, like, John's in trouble. But then you come to find out that she's not happy in their marriage, and I was like, oh, okay. But her death in this show, I was like, I didn't expect it. I did not expect it one bit.
Man,
I was like, oh man, they shut the door, and then boom, she blew her away. I was like, what? She's dead.
That wasn't like, to me, that wasn't the thing. For me, it was like a gambit in the beginning of that episode with her going to commit seppuku because she failed her liege lord, and the council, like the wife of the councilman of Ichiba realized, he's like, hold up, he got us with this, right? Because if we kill her, then all the regents will vie against us, because we just turned all of them into hostages in this single situation. All those houses are going to flip. Or two, we let her go, and then all the people who we are holding as hostages, but we don't want to admit they're hostages, are going to want to leave. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. They give her the permit, they all decide to leave, and they lose that like grip on those regent houses, which is exactly what Toranaga would. But then what I was upset about that, right? She just survived. You could get the hint, like she didn't quite want to kill herself because she was a little hesitant. She had like that huge sigh of relief after like the grab. And then like she kind of like resigns herself and holds the door so no one else would get hurt by the explosion, or no one else would die by the explosion. People got hurt, but she like took the brunt of the force, right? And I was kind of like, dang man, she just got the like, it was a Walking Dead Glenn, right? Where he's just like, oh no, he's dead. Nah, just kidding, he's not cool. Oh no, his head's gone. Got beaten in the head by Negan. Like, that's what that was. It was a, oh, he survived. Just kidding, they're dead now. And I'm like, just let them die the route that you didn't need to do that rug pull. Now I'm a little upset and like emotionally hurt.
Yeah, this series is really good about the dangers of ambition, misunderstanding of like culture, and also just the battle between East and West. I think that just rolls it all up into one little nice little thing where that's how I describe this show. Because like what I know about William Adam, like in a historical aspect, was he actually never fought. Like he was never a fighter. He was more of like their concierge or whatever you call it, like a pretty much just like an advisor. And you come to find out that like that emperor, well, that the man of that region actually would only hire Protestants after that. Like after he met William Adam, he was like, this guy's cool. He knows what he's doing, and he's going to help me try to show the Shogun to build like ships, like modern day ships for like battle and stuff. So like that's what happens in history, where William Adam is like used, where they teach him. He teaches them about like ships and how you know, how warfare is on like you know, pretty much like better ships. I forget what that's really called. And then and what was really weird though is like they did like a time jump in a way of like John dying. Like you can kind of tell John returns.
No, that wasn't a time jump. That
Well,
was
to me, it
100%.
looked like it was.
No, that was 100% like his hallucination. Cause like that's the thing, right? You know it's not a time jump, Austin. The end proved it wasn't a time jump. Like it was a hallucination after the explosion where he thinks of like, oh, he got back home, he got home, blah blah blah, and his like grandkids are asking him questions. Like that didn't make any sense. And then he wakes up to the explosion, and you know why it's not a time jump, Austin? Why I don't know why you thought that? It's because he had the necklace from Mirako, and he and the other girl drops like they pour her husband and her kids' ashes into the river, and then he drops that into the water as well. Not the river, but the ocean. And he drops that as well. So he doesn't have that. So that can't be a flashback because he got rid of it at the end of the series.
Well, no, I thought the part where like he's on the ship, and like he makes it back to his like original land. I thought that's what it was. Yeah,
No.
John does. Okay, then I must have misinterpreted that.
Yeah, I'm
So,
not
yeah,
sure what you're talking about there.
Because the thing is that was like one thing that I was going to bring up was like, well, actually, the real William Adams dies in Japan, and they bury him in Japan. And
well, I mean, they also make
he just land.
They make that they make note of that with Toranaga mentioning he's like, I think he's going to die here. Like he'll never leave Japan.
Yeah,
and
so,
that's
because he never does. He just becomes the right hand man to him, and that's
just remember that this isn't history, Austin. This isn't.
I
It
know,
is based on a book series
Ooh.
about a guy. So it's not even the fictional character things, Austin. It's like you're making connections of things. I'm like, bro, you're making connections to a third world. That's like me talking about Game of Thrones, but referring to the War of the Lions, or War of the Roses. Yes, there are some connectivities. That doesn't mean it's going to end with them that same way, you know.
Well, no. But that's who that character is loosely based off of, and that's the only thing that I know is like the difference of that history. I haven't read the book, and I can't say anything about the book because I'm actually gonna probably buy the book here soon and read it because then I'll like know. Oh, okay, it's how loosely based is it compared to like how I know the history of William Adam. So you know, I really. The ending of this series or this show, the season, I really enjoyed. Like him, like telling him about his whole plan. Because before he like kills himself, like the other guy, I always forget his name. He's like gonna do seppuku at the end, and he's like, before I do this, like you should tell me what your grand plan was. And he kind of just like forms it out to him a little bit.
To a degree, he basically looks at him, he tells him a couple things, but then when he's like, this was always your ambition, right? You are no different from us in your secret heart. Because that was one of the things they talked about in the very beginning of the show, is how they're like, in Japan, you have like people who like outward appearances, and then you have their secret heart, what their actual desires or want is. I forget who says it, but they mention it. And then he's like, in your secret heart, you're no different from us. And he's like, why would I tell you the future to a dead man? And it's just like, it's the equivalent of like, why would I waste the time to tell you something you'll never see?
Yep.
And it's like, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh man, also too, is one of my favorite things is when his general, like pretty much like in public just tells him that he's wrong. Like, and then he just kills himself. He's like, yeah, I don't agree with what he's saying.
Austin, did you not get the depth of what happened in that scene?
Like, what do you mean?
But he didn't tell him he's wrong.
He didn't agree with him.
Yeah, but you know why that happened, right?
I don't remember.
Oh, Austin, this was one of the big brain plays that you see, right? So that was let me see. His name is Hiromatsu, right? That was Hiromatsu. Hiromatsu and the other ones knew that there was a spy in their midst. They couldn't figure out who the spy was. So the thing is that he knew his part he had to play. He's like, we have to show that he is defeated. We have to make him look like he is defeated. And so he purposely yells out to him like, you are wrong. You are wrong. Knowing full well that he's going to fight, right? He was going to fight. He just needed to make the thing real. And so he kills himself to make that more real to them. And that was the thing. Like they mention, he mentions it later to someone that he's like, he played his part perfectly. He knew his role more than anyone else. And he cries because he's like, that was my best friend. And you can, when you watch that scene and you know that, you see like the tears welling up in both their eyes because neither of them wants the other one to die. And they know, like, I have to kill myself to give the resolve to the rest of the men to fight with you. And to make the enemy think that we're truly at, like, heal.
I must have missed the crying part.
Because, oh my gosh, dude. Like, when I was watching that, like, I'm a big fan of like political like drama like that, and especially like intrigue to that degree. I think of like Final Fantasy Tactics in the same way. I'm a big fan of the Final Fantasy Tactics. There's a point in the game where a character kills someone and then they like stage it to make him look like someone else died. And it's like, why'd you do it? It's like, it has to be him. I have promised this person to be safe, but they have to know, and you know why you're dying. He's like, I know why I'm dying. I know why I'm doing this for. He's like, good. And then he kills him and everything, and they stage it all, and they package it up real nicely, and then they get away with it. And that's what this was. It was like, this was a super well played thing that like they both knew what they had to do, and none of them wanted to do it, but they had to, and it was so well put together. And that was basically what the last like 3 episodes were repeatable of like certain characters doing what they had to do for the for Torganaga. And then meanwhile you had 2 idiots who didn't realize they were pawns the whole time doing exactly what he expected, and that was the Angie and then the other guy that you mentioned that you don't remember his name, that I have to look, the Yabushigi, the lord of the Izui, Isui, or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Izu, Lord of Izu. It just, oh man, like I love that so much. And then the fact that the story is really like driven on him, like on the Blackwater and Yabushigi, I'm butchering their name. I like when you hear it, you're like, yeah, I can say that. And then afterwards you're like, nope, I can't. I failed. I just love that. Like I was enthralled with the storytelling, with the political intrigue. And it's something, I love the fact that it was all done in Japanese outside of the Spanish or the Portuguese, English kind of talk, because it really makes you feel foreign to a degree. Like you have to like pay attention because there's certain terms that they use that aren't one-to-one. Like whenever he's trying to explain that he lost faith in Torganaga, and he's like, you could mean hope, you could mean faith, it could be one of those two. And he's like, I think faith is a closer approach. And it's like, oh man, it's a great show, man. I love this show so much. And there is a season 2 confirmed. Okay. I don't think the season 2 is going to be based off of a book, though. But yeah. Yeah, so apparently, yeah, season 2 renewed for season 2, yes. Okay, so second and third season are announced. So there is 2 seasons of this bad boy after this, which I am all for, because man, was this a great show. And I think of, not to sound like a freaking weeb, because that's what I am. The ending also gave me like the nostalgic of the Last Samurai. Like I know Last Samurai wasn't that great of a movie, but I know that it was really like big in Japan because of them actually hiring like Japanese actors for it. Which the Torganaga guy is from the Last Samurai. That's why I was so excited whenever I saw him. I was like, hey, it's him. He's the brother of the samurai that he kills in the beginning.
Yeah, one of the other guys was from Rush Hour. That was the only 2 that I saw. I'm trying to think of his name.
I'm not sure.
He's a little older now. It's the guy from Rush Hour. He's like, wipe yourself off, you dead. That guy.
Yeah.
The main villain. Yeah, he's in it. I'm just trying to think what person he played because I don't remember that dude's name.
Yeah, I don't know him.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, you got you threw off my mindset. But basically it was the end of The Last Samurai. He talks about trying to write his like last haiku or his poem or whatever. And he ends with like, they're all beautiful. He's talking about the cherry blossoms, right? Super whatever. Like, memorable to me because I always think of like whenever I go to like whenever like I die in a video game and I have like that moment where it's like silent music and your character's dying off. I always think of, they're all beautiful, and then you die. In this show, they have the same thing with Mariko and her like writing the thing about like the leafless branches, and she leaves it unfinished. She gives it to her one friend who is the wife to the Ichiba council member, and she goes to finish it for her. And it's like this idea that it's like a leafless flower, a leafless branch, but flowers are flowers because they wilt or they die or they fall. I forget the exact thing, but it's like the same thing. Like I think about that and I'm like, that's exactly how like the shows we watch tend to go, is that what makes a show good is whenever it's only here for the short time it has and then it stops. Like it falls, it ends. A flower is only a flower because it's only here for a short time. And then it's like, a show is only good if it's here for a short time and doesn't overstay its welcome, like Walking Dead. And so, I don't know, man. Weeaboo telling me, I just really enjoyed that a lot. So, I really like this show a lot. And it's not for everyone. I think some people will not like how much you have to pay attention, or how much it kind of like, it doesn't like hold your hand through a lot of stuff. You have to make connections. You have to like listen to dialogue in order to understand some things. I know there's some people who probably wouldn't catch it as much, and that's just how that's just what it is.
Yeah, I gotcha. No, I'll tell you, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that we watched it. I know that like when it first like what was it, like the trailer aired, it was like during the Super Bowl if I was correct, and I was like, whoa, this looks like a Josiah show. You know? And like Tom's like, yeah, it does. And I'm like, yeah. And then I was like, I should probably tell him about it. And then I remember we talked like when it was about to come out, and it was like, oh yeah, dude, we gotta watch Shogun. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally down for that. And I was like, oh, you know about it? He's like, yeah, it's this. I was like, oh, okay. And then like when I read up about it, I was like, oh, this is William Adam. Yeah. So it's loosely based off of that. So I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I'm glad. This FX did a really great job with this show. They didn't over convolute it to a point where like I didn't want to sit down and watch it. This show had me gripped when I started it, and then when I finished it, I was like, I want more. But I was like, I don't know if they're gonna have more, and I was like, it could be a limited series. But I'm glad that they're doing a season 2. I'm really happy about that. And it's great. This show deserves the praise, and hopefully around the time when it gets award season, this show gets a lot of awards, because I think it deserves it. I think this show is up there next to like, you know, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul stuff. You know, and I think it's phenomenal. I think this show is good for FX, and hopefully FX does more shows like this, because some FX shows I'm not really a fan of, but I was really glad that they did this, and they did really well. It was really well done. So that's what I take. I really enjoyed it. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. So they've already won awards, Austin. They've been winning rewards already.
Well, of course. So, well, not like the big awards yet. I don't think the Oscar, like the Grammys, or not the Grammys.
They received 25 Emmy nominations.
Oh, they
including
have.
Best Drama Series, Best Acting in Drama, series to be nominated for Top Drama Award after Squid Games in 2022. Shogun is historical drama. Yep. Television Critics Award. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like another historical drama that just came out recently that I've been wanting us to do too. So, but I don't know how good that is.
Yeah, they won 14 Emmy nominations and 3 awards of them.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man, they're winning stuff.
Good for them. Good for them.
It's a great show. I can't wait for the next season.
Yeah.
Whenever that will be. Their writing room is apparently back in session now in 2024, and they will finish writing probably within the year, and then probably we'll go to start filming next year. So maybe in 2026 or late 2025 we'll get season 2. Yeah. Who knows? All right, Austin, I think that basically covers it for this episode of Bros and Show. I very much appreciate you joining me on this. I could keep going about like the political stuff of the show and all the different things I love that they did. The little like sneak around, the little hit accuracies, inaccuracies, like all these little things. I could love to talk for hours, but it would just be me talking at you, and that's not what we do. But Austin, next week is your show to pick, so you're going to make us watch an anime.
Yeah.
You realize what you've done.
I don't think I've ever made you watch an anime yet.
No, that's not even the issue. The issue is that we just got done watching Shogun, and now you're gonna make me watch anime. So it's like, awesome. We're trying to dodge the weeaboo
well, okay, so
allegations here.
I will say about this. I watched Trinity Blood back in I think it was 2006, something like that. It was it was like one of those things where well, no, it wasn't 2006. It was like 2009 or 2010. I don't remember. I was working at a factory at the time, and I was staying at a buddy's house, and he went to sleep because for some odd reason he fell asleep. I don't know. So I was bored, and I worked third shifts, and I was like, I can't go to bed right now. My bedtime's like 6 a.m. So he had a subscription, I think it was like to Netflix, and Netflix had this on there. And I was like, ooh, this looks kind of cool. And the reason why I even watched it was because the front cover of Trinity Blood, if it's still, I don't know. The guy looked like Alucard for a minute, and I was like, is that Alucard? And I was like, maybe it's like a loosely based that.
Is that Alucard? Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
So, I was like, man, I wonder if Josiah's ever watched Trinity Blade, because that's pretty old. I don't remember. I think that came out in like the early 2000s. I know it was like one of the old
2005.
Okay.
So yeah, 2005. It wasn't that old, but it was definitely in the era before they start like making the anime like I don't know what to call it. Like that, there's a distinct like 80s and 90s. No, there's a distinct 90s and 2000 anime styled, like Trigun, a little bit of Big O, Castlevania. Not Castlevania. I want to say Castlevania. I meant to say Inuyasha, like that kind of style. And then they kind of updated it to like Naruto and like Naruto was in that weird middle part where it began with the kind of 90s style. And then it morphed into its own thing. And then like now you have like the My Hero colorations and all that. Like I can't explain it. I'm not like a great I just noticed that there's a distinct stylization between the era and the current era. And this is very much like the type that we grew up on as kids with Trigun and everything. So
yeah, it's like it's one of my favorite animes. Like it's intriguing. I like it. I haven't watched it for a long time, so I remember like just going back and looking for anime, and I was like, ooh, I haven't watched that in a while. So that's why I was like, oh, I'll just add that to the watch list. And I was like, man, I'll just surprise him one day and be like, hey, you haven't watched a vampire anime. Hey. so
and then I'll force you to watch Van Helsing or whatever it's called.
No. Van Helsing.
Van Helsing, yeah.
The movie?
No, Van Helsing.
Oh, Van Helsing. Oh,
or Helsing, or whatever it's called.
Helsing.
It's just Helsing, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a Van in there.
No Van.
Yeah.
Van's not here, man. But yeah.
Van's not here, man. You just missed
we're going
him.
to be watching Trinity Blood.
So we'll watch that next week, and that's what we'll do. So 24 episodes of Trinity Blood. Enjoy that, Austin. Austin, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you all so much for stopping by. And thank you all so much for tuning in.